everybody. It's okay? Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Please turn off your cell phone sounds. They asked me to tell you. Let's start. Good afternoon. I am Jaime Gonzalez Vallejo. I am 3D artist at Tequila Works. And I'm here on behalf of the art team. And I've come to tell you our experience in this unannounced VR project that we are currently developing. Tequila Works is a game developer studio located in Madrid and established in 2009 by some of the former employees of Blizzard Entertainment, Mercury Steam, Pyro Studios, or Sony, between others. 2017 is going to be a remarkable year for Tequila Works due to Sexy, Brutal, and Rhyme releases. And now with GameStop as partner, Game Trust, the company is developing its first VR project. The team has been very small since the beginning, and nobody had previous experience in VR. And this is the whole team last summer visiting the local museum and taking references. Madrid, the Museum of Romanticism. And this is the current team last week. The game core is developed in the studio, as well as the environment and concept art. Characters, motion capture, animations, and audio, they are all outsourced. These are the tools that we use, and those three on the right side are the platform targets. In 12 months, we have to quickly create an island, a big mansion on top of it, and a lot of furniture elements and assets, all without outsourcing support. Our age and previous experiences are quite different, as well as our workflows and on asset creation in general. But the good thing about the small teams is communication, and something that we need a lot in this revolutionary challenge. My previous experience, based on games with hyper-realistic visual style, in Homefront 2, I learned how to build first-person shooter environments with a high level of detail and physical-based textures. I was lucky to be part of the cinematic team at Remedy, so I could work on close to the drama directors and the animators and go through the motion capture process. In Gears of War 4, I work on the multiplayer map, some of them, and I faced several optimization tasks in order to run the game at 60 frames per second on Xbox One. So I arrived to Tequila, and they told me that I will be working on a VR experience that is a first-person shooter, but without weapons and a higher immersion, with characters based on real actors and motion capture animations, and environments that aim to be running at 60 frames per second on a PS4. I was happy and excited to join this team and this particular project. A project that is not a game. The player's goal is not about participating on the story, it's about discovering it. This is an immersive VR theater experience directed by Raul Rubio and written by Rob Jescom. As I said, a mansion at the beginning of the last century with an American neo-colonial design avoiding a Victorian Baroque approach. These are the first sketches while the story script was in progress still. And later the environment gets shaped from the script, both of them untouchable since motion capture sessions finished. The layout never changed, so pre-production was harder than usual. Here a comparison of an old concept and the current state of the environment. We try hard to respect the original ideas and focus only on the addition of details. Here an example of the layout. First, the concept art and the first pass of the lighting in-game. We use several paint overs and on pre-production because they give us a quick and refreshing idea of how the environment is going to look. And everything evolves slowly, iteration by iteration. Final result here richer in details and lighting. The art direction. Here we have two early 3D concepts used on the demo. We consider our chosen art direction to be placed in the middle of cartoon and realistic. And so the project aimed for a concise look with real shapes and colors, lighting. This physical lighting is the most valuable element on the final art, since material and textures support this rendering method, but their level of detail are not actually realistic. We want to create comfortable and calm atmospheres, and we just prompt the player to be focused on the character, and these VR experiences ask and deserve nice, immersive environments. This chosen art direction is not only artistic, it's also a consequence of VR constraints. 60 FPS on PS4 gives us a lot of limitations and headaches. So the process starts stylizing the textures and shapes, getting lower resolutions, times, and triangle cone. A correct physical base lighting and materials do the rest, and we achieve the desirable atmosphere. In the project, we qualify the noise as annoying. You can easily get dizzy with VR, and one of the main reasons is that noise. And our art direction asks to delete it in every single texture. This decision was easier to take at the beginning, since performance was not allowing us to use any anti-aliasing method. But recently, we could add at least the temporal anti-aliasing, so we are less worried about this issue. Concept art. Oscar Cuesta, art director and lead artist, was the first member of the team. Well, not the first member of the art team. And he was the only artist during several months working on concepts and the layout of the environment. He used sometimes these isometric perspectives on his artworks, and I think that in a very successful way. Our concept artist, Elias Sanchez, he feels comfortable with paint overs on top of screenshots. And his ideas are many times necessary for us in order to progress on the room's iterations. He also enjoys the use of 3D code and its sculpt and rendering features. He quickly creates 3D shapes, applies smart materials, and paint overs are even easier. As demonstrated on all these concepts, we are facing high contrast between the different locations in the map. And now the environment art. My first task was the development of the assets creation pipeline. And this is an example. From real picture references, we design an asset with softer shapes, noiseless, and optimized. As you can see on the textures, we aim to use horizontal and or vertical tiling information. And if required, we work with non-square files. The goal at the end is to use the minimum textures resolutions, always keeping a balance and proper texel ratio between 512 and 256 pixels per meter. I think it's very important for us. Base color textures are clean with correct albedo values and low contrast. Roughness is richer on information, but always avoiding that pixel grainy noise. And normal maps take an important position with clean height values on surfaces and baked information on small objects. You can see all the small objects that they are packed on the top left corner. And on important narrative objects, we push the quality and time effort of the textures, trying not to use styling textures. This time I decided to use overlapping UVs, symmetrical pieces, so I could work on the wound edges and contact areas without big texture resolutions. The curvature map, baked map, is a big support. And here, but the visibility of these details must be subtle to keep a balance with the other assets on the environments. You can see for yourself that roughness, metalness, and ambient occlusion, they are packed on a single texture, that colorful one. We decided to add the ambient occlusion here since we will not have any real-time ambient occlusion in-game. Therefore, we always use a neutral gray as a specular. And you can finally check that the mesh corners are rounded, but the normal map doesn't have any high poly information baked. This is because I used on this asset the medium poly workflow. This workflow has been used on Alien Isolation and Star Citizen, between others. They are all games with big objects, big assets, and surfaces. It's based on the creation of soft bevels for the corners, avoiding the hard edges and the low poly look. And we realized that we are not only saving textures here and draw calls with this method, but also getting a better pixel resolution. We have this way less seams, more tiling textures, better silhouettes, and faster modeling times. Medium poly workflow on the left, and the typical high poly baked on the right side. After all, this high poly and normal map bake is not needed. With a slight movement, head of movement in VR, you can easily spot the LODs that they are swapping. Although we have higher amount of triangles, we decided not to use LODs, resulting in memory savings at the end. Here, one of my favorite assets, a bit one that I made with only a 1K texture and a good textile density. From my point of view, the best workflow is the mix of both low poly and medium poly workflow. Spend the minimum time possible modeling high poly parts, and use chamfers and edited normals as much as you can on big elements, like the support of the telescope here. And this typewriter was made by one of the artists, Jose Grandal. On these cases where the object is small and full of tiny details, the medium poly workflow is not suitable due to the triangle count. Besides, without using LODs, we get another challenge for the GPU, a lot of triangles and in a single pixel. So this workflow must be used with caution. And this is related to lighting, more or less. Without LODs, we also save memory with less light maps to bake. Proper light maps are crucial if we want beautiful environments and with all these limitations. So we take them seriously. We create a second UV channel manually, and we give them the maximum quality possible. Here, the light complexity view. The lighting artist's worst nightmare. And then dynamic lights are maybe the most expensive feature on this project, but they are necessary for the character lighting. These kind of lights work on a different channel than the environment, and it's a challenge for Andres Jimenez, our lighting artist, to place them all around the map without overlapping one each other. So character art, there are several main characters in the game, and art direction needed to be clear enough to there were an in-depth study of all of them. These are the oldest concept designs. It's unbelievable how they have evolved. I'll show you the progress of this particular character. Yeah. First, concept art based on the original idea. There were also some 3D concepts and tests in ZBrush. And at the end, after knowing the actors involved on the motion capture sessions, the final design based on them. This was possible thanks to these concepts and the references and continuous feedback from Oscar, the art director, and Solid Anim, the company in charge of the capture and the animations, a French company. The actors were also scanned in 3D to help a lot in the design process. And with motion capture, we are dealing with realistic body and facial animations. The models and textures were outsourced. 3 talented character artists from different parts of the job, different parts of the world, did the job. Any video game production that deals with these working methods, they faces a common issue, that is the uncanny valley. In VR, this is even a more relevant issue due to the immersion. The player is there, is close to the character, looking at he or she from different angles and distances. So we need to avoid the player to feel uncomfortable, and well, this stylized art direction relieve this problem, achieving a balance with the environments. Something I want to mention here is the use of the Unreal Engine tool sequencer. It's a good choice for us because we can easily check the animations on the viewport and how they are working with the environment. The player. We are developing an experience. We have to focus on the narrative, animations, and characters, but this time we also have a different player, one that will be intriguing. The VR device, Vibe, for example, goes everywhere. You can hide anything. What if the player decides to jump, or what if he or she decides to lie on the floor? If the player tries to see what is inside a wardrobe, a closed wardrobe, for example, we show him the darkest black. For this feature, we need to make collisions for every asset, and this collision will also be related to the teleport feature. We need to be in constant communication with the game designer, Pablo Calatayud. Well, here you can check the teleport feature, how it's working, and clearly the moment the character is crashing into the player, the view turns softly to black, as you can see. It's for these kind of issues that the corridors tend to be thicker than usual. So, well, I'm talking now about the scale. It has been an interesting element on this adventure. We check the asset size many times before it's done. On the editor, you can appreciate that the environments are like huge. Then you put on the glasses, and the proportions are now almost okay. At the end, the main objective is not to bump up against the characters. We have lately shown good examples of games with incredible cinematic sequences, no matter if they are first-person shooters or third-person shooters. On our gameplay, we don't have cameras or singular points of view. The player is free to go and decide from where he would enjoy the story. So as well as in theaters, we need to create larger environments, even exaggerated. And we aim to create like comfortable spaces without obstacles. Another VR-related concern, the textures. As environment artists, we are worried about those tiny details on the assets. But it's disappointed when the VR blurriness and low resolution don't let you appreciate the props when they are too close to the camera, well, to your eyes. We have to decide what is worth it and to find more pleasant designs. And well, we are all glad of using the algorithmic tools for the textures creation. With Perfox linked to them, we can share all the new materials and effects in seconds. And well, on stylized games like this, sharing base materials between the artists, like a wood generator, we believe is suitable for achieving like a good consistency between the different assets. The rain, a feature created by Norman Scar, technical artist. The rain is made out of a single static mesh. I guess you don't appreciate the water drops, but well, you have a better representation on the right side. Pivot point positions for each raindrop are stored as paired attributes, and the shader makes sure that they follow the camera properly. Everything is handled in the GPU to free up the CPU from updating the raindrops every frame. And a depth texture is also used in order to avoid the rain to clip indoors. We take that depth texture to reposition the 3 leaves on the exterior floors. This tool was created by Mario Palmero, lead programmer. I'm glad you're here on this talk because he's currently having another talk in another room. He's also another speaker. Well, the rain came with some consequences. For example, the water drops on the glass. But before, the technical artist found another issue. At the time, Unreal 4 glass solution was very expensive, and it requires to compute the entire PBR shader to achieve some reflection in the glass. That reflection, however, was a cube map with no parallax correction, and a less physically correct but way cheaper and better looking solution was to completely drop the PBR shader, sampling the cube map in an unlit shader and do the parallax correction there. Technical stuff. Having more control over this also allows us to sample 2 different cube maps for the glass window, so a different cube map was seen depending on which side of the glass you were looking through. One more time, Substance Designer allowed me to create a procedural texture to extend the water drops. The rain is one of the special effects we have in-game, but all the performance issues and limitations makes impossible their use of real-time simulations or particles. So both 2 FX artists working on our project, Simon Trampler and Simon Remis, 2 Simons, choose the vertex shader animations in almost every situation. For example, the fire sparks and how the rain is affecting the character temporarily, not only the hair, also the skin or the clothes. And more limitations, this time with the expensive volumetric light. The FX artists managed to use planes with transparency at the fade assort instance. But we have then shader complexity issues that you can see on the right side. That's why we environment artists avoid and almost forget about the using of alpha on all our textures on the assets. The platforms, something we enjoy a lot was designing the controllers for the different VR platforms. That was the Vive one, here's the Oculus one, all of them with a soft cyberpunk influence and all materials. And as you can see, we added more functional features to them, like a clock or a laser emitter related to the teleport feature. And well, the artists. This is an announced project, and I'm not allowed to show more stuff or talk about the story, but I can say that the story is full of science fiction, and this has been a very fun experience for us, the artists. You catch the objects with your hands, and you can easily get hypnotized by the light reflections. This is also appropriate for the inclusion of Easter eggs, so you can hide them on the assets and challenge the player to find them. And well, as conclusion, VR is a beautiful experience and a perfect place for admiring and showing our own creations. Thank you very much. If you have any questions.
Hi.
Hi.
So thanks for the talk. So I noticed you talk a lot about optimization, but you seem to have soft shadows on your characters. Mm-hmm. Isn't that quite heavy for VR?
Yeah. Well, he was asking about the soft shadows and the dynamic lighting on characters. When I was talking about them, I said that it was maybe the most expensive feature in-game. And as you can see on that particular slide, I'll show you here. Those 3, on the left side, you have all those overlapping dynamic lighting. It was just for this demonstration, but that's impossible for VR to handle. And yeah, it should be all like the right side, green. And yeah, that's why I said that it's the nightmare for the lighting artist, because in the moment everything has very soft light maps, soft lightings, and in the moment you don't put any dynamic lighting on every single light emitter, you see that the character is too dark and it's not fitting on the environment.
And so can you predict roughly where the player will be at some point in the story?
Yeah, exactly. I was not talking too much about the mechanics or how the game design was, but yeah, the characters, they were all, well, the actors were all recorded on this motion capture session, and they were all like following walk. They were all following the story, and so yeah, we know exactly in every minute where they are. They are not moving with any AI. That's why this is an experience, and this is a theater experience. We know exactly where are they going, and what are they saying, how much time they are staying in every room. So yeah, we are always using this sequencer, and we are checking where to put all the lights, all the dynamic lights.
Okay, thank you. Very nice art style.
Thanks to you. Any other question? Well, thank you very much.